Hey guys, our guest today was diagnosed with stage 3 testicular cancer at the age of 24. He was then hospitalized in the Cleveland Clinic ICU for 53 days, forcing him into a 2-week coma where he suffered complete kidney and liver failure and went into cardiac arrest. He had an open abdominal wound from hip to hip and went from a healthy 185 pounds down to 110. Needless to say, he had to start his life all over from rock bottom. Due in large part to his health and fitness background as a personal trainer, his strong mindset, faith, and amazing support system, he is now weighing in at 200 pounds and has been cancer-free now for 4 years. He is on a mission to share his story so he can help individuals overcome adversity in their lives, discover their purpose, and give them courage and the tools to go out and conquer their dreams. Welcome to the show, inspirational speaker, Matt O.D.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mike. Great intro. Really appreciate it. So thank you, brother. Thank you for having me, and I'm excited to, share my story, share a lot of what I've mostly learned along the way to, help out your community. So,
brother, it's a great intro because you're in your greatness right now. You're in your purpose. I see it. I feel it in your energy. I mean, we just had a short pre-call here before jumping on, and I just feel it, man. It's a vibration that you have. And we talk about it a lot on the show, like overcoming adversity is a big topic on Mic'd Up. And so I know you've done that. We heard it in your bio. I didn't want to shorten your bio any more than that because I didn't feel it did you justice. And anyone who's tuning in who may not know who you are needs to feel what you went through. And I think that bio really explains what you went through, and we could have a little bit of an understanding of what you were dealing with. Now, that happened to you, right? People wake up, things happen to us. We could get testicular cancer. We can lose our job. We could lose a family member. And that doesn't define us, right? And your greatness came after you were punched with this cancer, 24 years old. You didn't think the second you got it, hey, I'm going to be on stage speaking about it. So what I'm going to do is just remind our audience that stories like yours are exactly why I do this show. And we're going to get to a couple questions and get to know your background a little bit. But to inspire people to be brave and bold in pursuit of their dreams. That's really why I do this show. If you haven't tuned in yet, guys, that is what this show is all about. And to understand that adversity prepares you for your greatness, as I just teased a little bit. So again, thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. I think, you have to go through adversity in order to do something great with your life. You don't just do something great by constantly having this easy pathway of just pure success. You look at any of the greats, they failed way more than they even succeeded most of the time.
Right.
And that's how I look at life, is literally failure equals success. Every no gets you closer to a yes, and you have to be prepared to fail along the way, and when you do that, that's what allows you to grow. That's what allows you to actually learn. Your lessons come from your failures. You get way more knowledge from, having setbacks, having adversity in your life, because it allows you to set you up for those, successes and a brighter future.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. Like you learn through it, right? There's a great quote. You either learn, like you either win or you learn. Right. I mean, in a loss, like it's devastating. If it's sports, if it's a championship, if it's a business proposal, whatever it might be, nobody wants to lose. But when you're in the moment of that, it can drive you further in ways that you didn't even know. Like I just learned this about Matt as well. Just as we were pressing record, I was mentioning that as I'm recording this in mid to late April of 2021, I wake up and there's 4 inches of snow on the lawn, and we're laughing about it. But then I said, well, I'm from Buffalo, New York, so it's no big deal. He goes, I was born in Buffalo too. I mean, Matt was a 5-year Buffalonian, Buffalo resident, and he grew up 5 minutes from where I'm recording this. I had no idea. I mean, Matt and I connected on LinkedIn. He's in Ohio currently, right? Cleveland. One of our sister cities. I have a love for Cleveland. I'm more of an Indians fan than any other sports team in the city. And I love the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. as a musician. It's a great place to be, and check it out. But we had this connection, like about Buffalo, New York, right? And it's just so like Buffalo has this kind of underdog mentality. But the reason I even bring this connection up is A, it's cool, and B, Josh Allen, when you saw him lose that Houston Texans playoff game a couple years ago, and he just sat on the bench and was like staring off into a distance, he looked like he was ready to devour somebody, not just on the football field. He was ready to, like, he was in ready mode, right? Like he wasn't going to flinch. And guess what he does the next year? I mean, he puts up 4,500 passing yards and 1 million touchdowns and is an MVP candidate. I really believe, not as a Buffalonian, but I think that he had the most well-rounded performance this year and should have really been the league MVP. Comes out, brings the team on his back. Diggs is a great player. Diggs helped him out a lot, but without Allen, Diggs doesn't lead the league in passing, and without Diggs, Allen, I think it was like another step in his growth. But I'm just telling you, he had that failure from 1 year earlier drove him to go even further than I bet he would have went if they would have just made the playoffs or missed the playoffs or been an average team. He didn't have that experience. So there's a long way for me to say that, yeah, your failures or your shortcomings can be a way to launch you into something bigger. And we're going to tease that in a second. But I want people to know that I'm with Matt O.D. He also goes by Matty _OD on Instagram, so you guys can follow him there. It's mattodspeaks.com, and it's spelled MATTODE speaks.com. Incredible content. Love what you're doing. You're also on YouTube, so people can hit up his YouTube channel, right? Which I already did. And if you're on Facebook and LinkedIn and you want to connect, just go to his website and click through because it's right there listed on the site. Again, mattodspeaks.com. Here we go. We're going to talk about one of the biggest things that's right on your website in big, bold letters, purpose. And you are purpose-driven. It's so important to me as well. It's really what drives me every day, Matt, is being purpose-led and just knowing where I want to go, right? Can you share your perspective on that, on the importance of purpose?
Yeah, I think purpose is tricky because, we all find it at different times, and there's not necessarily like one direct, like, oh, this is my purpose necessarily, like it's a specific thing. It can be a couple of different things, and you kind of gravitate towards where you want to go. You think you're going one direction, and next thing you know, you're in a totally different, direction. Like for me, for example, 5 years ago, my purpose is not what it was 5 years ago. My purpose was I was a personal trainer. I wanted to open up a gym one day, be a business owner kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I have cancer, and now I'm on the path as a motivational speaker. I have a Facebook group with over 2,600 cancer patients and survivors where I'm building an entire community to help them through survivorship. So with coaching and things like that. So it's a totally different avenue, but I still had that drive. I still have that passion of doing something great with my life. And I think that's what it comes down to being, purpose driven, is saying, hey, listen, I'm going to drown out a lot of what society tells me I can and can't do. And I'm going to follow what is in my heart, follow what's in my intuition. Right. And when you do that, all that noise, usually the hardest part is sometimes it is people that you care about don't understand your path at first. So you have to drown out all the noise, and it's you and your faith, whatever you believe in. I'm Christian, so I believe in God, but for me, it's me and God going this direction. And then eventually more and more and more people will understand. And usually you might have that close one or two people that are going to be there to support you. So you need to surround yourself with the right people that are going to elevate you, that are going to have that positive support along your way to figuring out what you're meant to do with your life. And how you find your purpose, my best way of saying it is, I took something that was meaningful to me, that was challenging, that I had to overcome, that I failed at, that I, had adversity in, and I can use it to help other people, period. Your purpose can't be just about yourself. If it's just about yourself, you're not going to go very far in life. You have to use it to help others as well. Right. Now, I'm not saying you can't use it for yourself, because I do, but I had to, like, for example, after cancer, I had to take care of myself for 2 straight years, not being able to help anybody. I had to take care of my mental, emotional, physical health. But once I was able to do that, then I found out little things that other people were struggling with that I was able to overcome. And that allowed me to kind of direct towards my purpose because it was meaningful to me. It was something I overcame, and it's now something I can use to help other people with. So that would be my advice to really going after your purpose.
Brother, that is so good. How old are you, my man?
29.
29, dude. 29 years old. A lot of people listening are going to say, wow, he's so young. And there's going to be 20-year-olds listening that are like looking up to you. But all I know is, you hit on it. Like, and your mentality is, anybody listening to this, your mentality is such a key component into how you're going to unlock a lot of what you're looking for in life, whether it's success or helping people or influencing people, inspiring yourself in the mirror. Like it's your mentality. But you said a big thing too. It's about like the energy of the people collectively around you too. And I think if you look at any great person, athlete, celebrity, business person, look around them. Like it's the team, it's the core. You don't always see these people because they're not always showing up in the Facebook and Instagram and TikTok videos. But a lot of times there's a core group of people that really are integral in somebody's life. And so that's a big takeaway there. Circle that one. Make sure you evaluate who you're listening to, where you're getting your influence. Here's what I love, guys. Why do I do podcasting and why do I listen and consume podcasts so much? Those 5 voices, doesn't have to be 5, by the way, but like those handful of voices don't always have to come from the people who live under the same roof as you. And that's really what inspired me to be an entrepreneur, is listening into these other guys and gals and their business podcasts and inspiring people like Matt who've overcome cancer and said, you know what, I'm happy to be alive. I just overcame this ridiculous thing. I have a scar from one side of my body to the other. I had all kinds of stuff up for what was it, 54 days. I lost your bio, but for like over 50 days, you were out, right? Down and out. Brother, that wasn't that was a win at that time. But now a win for you is helping more people out. One person listening to the show, 2 people. And you've been on stage, brother. And we're recording this in April, which is also important because it's Testicular Cancer or TC Awareness Month. And that's directly related to this conversation. And that was just by I didn't know that. I mean, we didn't schedule this, say let's do it in April because it's TC Awareness Month, but it is. And that's a huge deal because you were just recently, you came onto this show to do this interview with me after doing a summit, right? The TC Summit. You were an incredible inspirational speaker at that event, talking to patients, survivors, caregivers from all around the country. And then he says, I'm going to be on Mic'd Up, which I'm honored that you decided to do that. Tell us about that experience, man. Did you get a chance yet to reflect on that moment?
Yeah, it was incredible. First, I want to backtrack real quick. I completely agree with, the people that you hang around with real quick. So I just want to touch that subject. I totally agree because the only reason I'm here today is because I joined a group of entrepreneurs. It's crazy because when I first started off, it wasn't diving into the cancer community. It was diving into entrepreneurs because that's what they do is they take a problem, they solve it, and they help other people. Yes. So I completely agree. You have to create new friendships. You have to create a new environment. And it's not that you have to completely take out the other people, but you just can't spend as much time with them maybe. So that's exactly why I'm here today. And I was able to even get to that summit and be on this podcast. So yeah, man, the summit was incredible. It was crazy because it's been, I was on stages before COVID, and this is the very first time that I was able to get on a stage again. So it was such a unique, because I've been doing so many podcasts and online events and things like that. So to get on stage again and in person was, it was awesome. Reflecting at it, I just felt every time I do something like that, it just clarifies that I'm on the right path for me.
It's a reminder. It's a reminder. Like you just got off the stage and there's all these emotions going off, but you felt like I'm on purpose. I'm still on purpose. And like, you're always looking to develop and grow that. But it was a reminder of like, oh yeah, I am doing exactly what I feel called to do. It's amazing.
Yeah, it was really gratifying. And to see the impact of people coming up to you after just saying, hey, like, thank you for this message, or thank you for sharing this, or wow, you went through this, or X, Y, and Z. It brings a lot. It brings purpose, like we just talked about, purpose and meaning to your life. It really does. I'm telling you, if you really want to find some type of meaning in your life, just start giving back to one person at a time. I like to have this acronym called HOPE, and it's help one person every day.
Oh my God,
And
so good.
I'm telling you, man, when you just go out there and you help one person every day, it's a compound effect. And eventually, next thing you know, that person that you helped is helping the other person because you gave them the message they needed to go out and help the next one. And it's just like this big snowball effect. So you helping 10 people could truly help hundreds of people in the world, and then just keep going from there.
Wow. Hope. Help one person every day. Is that your deal? Is that your tagline?
I learned it from a person named Jim Quick.
Okay. So I just want to give credit because I'm going to post that. I'm going to do a social post and talk about hope. And
go for it. Yeah.
I'll tag you in it, but I'll make sure Jim Quick is KWIK, right? Yeah, we'll get it. We'll
something like yeah.
Awesome, man. It's so true. Like a lot of times we think about the big vision and how many people we want to help and inspire, and that's incredible. And that can be what like lights the fire. But at the same time, think about it individually. Like the person in front of you at the grocery store, maybe they look like they're hurting, and like their bill is like $14. You're like, you know what? That'd be pretty cool if just help them out because maybe that's $14 more that they can give to their little kid who seems like he's like not in a good place or something like that, or paying it forward in the drive-through lane. Like you get your coffee, just buy the guy behind you, whatever. It's not about like me, like, look, I just did this, or I just donated to this big charity, but help one person at a time. And then eventually you're going to find yourself in front of group opportunities like we have right here with Matt, where he's on stage, right, with the doing a speech in front of TC survivors. And he's like, wow, I'm not just doing the 1-1 deal right now. Like there's a lot more people here that I can impact. But he understands that individually, every person that's in that audience, he's connecting with one by one, which is super, super awesome. That's incredible.
Appreciate it, man. Yeah, I would say don't ever undermine the power of at least just helping that one person, because a lot of times we want to get on these big stages or we want to help thousands or millions of people, but you have to start somewhere. And maybe that's not your direction. Maybe it's you being a better father. Maybe it's you being a better mother. Maybe it's you being just a better individual in your community, your small community, or a teacher, whoever you are. So whatever path you're going on, just try to be the best version of yourself in that area and use it to impact those people. So you don't have to be doing what me and Mike are doing. I know, Mike, you're trying to impact tons of people through your podcast. I'm trying to help tons of people through speaking and through the cancer community. But wherever you're at in your life, just know that you are making an impact in somebody's life, and that truly matters. So don't ever underestimate the impact that you make in somebody's life.
Yeah, your influence and reach. And really, it starts with that one person mentality of, I have a daughter. So like, that's my first person I'm looking to positively impact and influence. And then I want to make my parents proud. Now I lost my dad passed away with COVID a few months ago. So it's really my mother. Like, I want to make sure that she understands like the crazy stuff that I'm doing has a good purpose associated to it. And I would love for her to see the comeback of it. Like, that some of the residual that comes along with the hard work and the craziness that you and I understand goes into it. And then you just want to see like your friends and family do well. And like, that's your core. And then all of a sudden it's your clients and it's your bigger group of friends and the people that come to your gigs and the people who press play to listen to me talk right now. Thank you guys so much for doing that or watching us on YouTube. It's absolutely incredible. Going back to your point about entrepreneurship earlier, one of the greatest values it's provided for me and many others is the resourcefulness. Like we really learn how to be resourceful because it's not okay to just hit a roadblock and be like, we're done. We're not going to go in that direction anymore. We're going to go somewhere else. It's like, why did this happen? How can I overcome it? What else can I do to get around it? Why is this happening? Can I limit it from happening again? And then we just go into that zone and we're at the touch of a button with any information we want now with Google and libraries and digital libraries. And man, there's just no reason to not find the answer. I love that. I love that about you. And you get it at 29 years old, dude, you're just like a firecracker of energy that really is just a positive force in what you're doing. I love it, man. A couple of things I want us to learn more about. So it's TC Awareness Month. How can we be more, how can guys be more proactive in like identifying it? I remember like every time you go get a physical as a guy, they kind of remind you to check for it. But are there like things that that now that you didn't know when you were like 25, 26, that maybe you could have caught it a little bit sooner than stage 3?
I could have definitely caught it earlier. Long story short, here's the unique part. I had an extremely rare type of cancer where it didn't form in my testicle, but I started to get back pain. And I've actually heard this quite a few times with other testicular patients getting back pain as well before as a symptom. And as 24 years old, I was just so stubborn. I mean, I was crazy healthy at the time, working out 7 days a week, literally eating pretty much perfect. And then all of a sudden, these back pains started to come. And throughout the summer, they got worse and worse and worse. And I just kept being more and more stubborn. And eventually, one day, I ended up puking up blood, got rushed to the emergency room. They did a blood test on me, found out I lost 2/3 of the blood circulating in my body, which is basically equivalent to being shot with a gun.
Yeah.
They gave me 6 bags of blood, brought me into an emergency surgery, and the next day they found out that I had an 11-centimeter tumor in my small intestine. Now, that is not the likelihood of finding testicular cancer. Now, what I would say the likelihood of finding testicular cancer.
11 I mean, 11 I haven't been in third grade in a while because we do everything in inches in the States. But
it's probably like the size of a...
That's almost like 5 inches.
I don't know what 11 centimeters really is, but it's not small. I know that. So it's probably like 5 inches or something like that.
4 to 5 inches. Of a mass. So, but it wasn't, it was somehow not directly noticeable, like when you're...
No, it wasn't. The only thing because it was in my small intestine, so it was in my stomach. There was maybe a small lump, but nothing that like you could really, really notice. So from right there, like, my life completely changed. And, what I would tell the most men, that's not going to really happen to you. What I would say, though, is if there is something down, like your testicles enlarged, or you find lumps that are just not there, that are just not normal, that have been there for over a week or two, like, go get yourself checked up. And the biggest thing I would tell men is do not be afraid to open up, to share. You don't have to share to the world, I'm saying, but to share to like 1 or 2 people. For us men, this is the one thing I really found out. And, maybe some women, but women are a lot better at this, is sharing our emotions or sharing something that we've gone through, or like maybe something that's wrong with us, like, our health wise. And we just have a tough time opening up as men because we're like these strong individuals. We can get through this. We'll be just fine. No, go to the doctor or talk to somebody that's really close to you that you feel comfortable expressing this issue or this abnormal thing that's going on. And it will make a world of difference, because the sooner you can get it, if you can get stage 1 testicular cancer, you don't even have to go through chemotherapy. Usually, it's usually just a testicle removal, and then you're good to go. And the second you see symptoms, you want to go get that thing checked out. Now, as it progresses, you're going to have to go through chemo, but that's what I would tell a lot of these men out there for testicular cancer is like, if you find something wrong, do not be afraid to open up, go share it. If you have an enlarged testicle, if something's hard down there, things like that.
It's the alpha male thing where it's an ignorance and it's a choice of being ignorant too. And I can relate to it, man. Like, I've had things where, not that, but other things that didn't seem right. And I took way too long to actually get to a professional about it, because it was like, I'll just figure it out, or I don't have time for that. It's the worst. Like, some of the worst things you could tell yourself are the first things that may come to you. But you're right. Like, even if it's just, being sad or a breakup or something, and just telling someone else about it, so they know, like, okay, Mike or Matt or whoever's listening is like, emotional state here isn't quite right. And it's just kind of like documented enough, so maybe some additional help can come out, because why go through everything alone? And it's really a dark and lonely road, like with something as serious as cancer, when you can have your closest friends and family. And if someone's listening and like, I don't have a great group of friends or family or whatever, like, then just tell people care. Like, even if you met someone for the first time, you're like, man, something's wrong with me, man. Like, they're going to connect with you on a different level. So be vocal, at least with some key people in your life. So you're at a minimum, they can document it and get you some quicker help. And even if you like find help later on, because it's documented, maybe the dots can be connected quicker. There's no loss in that, like the value of telling someone that you're going through a tough time and documenting, right? So that's really well said. I want to learn more about mustaches from Matt, how we can make a difference, how we can tune into this deal. Before we do that, we're going to take a quick sponsorship timeout. We're going to be back right after this. Podcasting is a great way to engage with your audience and stay consistently relevant. The only problem is you don't have the time or desire to produce your own show. You simply want it done for you, and that's where Social Chameleon comes in. All you need to do is press record and upload the files. We'll handle the rest. From planning, production, post-production, distribution, and digital marketing, we have you covered. We realize that times are tough and funds are tight, and Social Chameleon believes in building supportive business relationships. By clicking on the link in this promo, we'll provide you 7 free podcasting tips to get started, as well as a free 30-minute online consultation. This is the perfect opportunity for entrepreneurs, keynote speakers, industry experts, influencers, and anybody who has a personal brand. With Social Chameleon, we help you build a brand that is out of this world. We're ready and waiting, so what are you waiting for? Click on the link to get started today. All right, we're back in action with Matt O'D. You guys can check him out again at mattodspeaks.com. It's MATTODE speaks.com. And on Instagram, it's at Matty, is MATTY_ODE. Welcome back to the show. All right, so we were just talking about mustaches for Matt. Tell us all about that.
Yeah, I'm going to share how it was formed first and why it's so meaningful to me. So, kind of backtracking to the story, once I found out that I had stage 3C testicular cancer, they immediately put me on 5 rounds of intense chemotherapy. And within I would say probably a week, I started to lose my hair. And, I was kind of upset about it. And it was kind of especially when you go through chemo, I know women can really attest to this. When you lose your hair, it's kind of a symbol of you. And for me, for having this red hair and, it's kind of like myself, it really was tough at the time. But the one thing that I actually still had with me was, I still kind of have one right now, but I had this dirty mustache, really ugly grown mustache. And I was like, this is the only piece of hair I got left on me right now. So I am not letting it go. Yeah. And all my friends decided to notice it. So they're like, okay, we're obviously not going to mess with him because he's going through cancer right now. So we're going to all grow mustaches with him. So I had all my friends, all of the dads, everybody that was around me, they all grew mustaches throughout all 5 rounds of my chemotherapy.
Wow.
And it was really incredible. And, when I finally finished, my dad said, you know what, Matt, we're going to host an event. I was diagnosed in August. It ended around Thanksgiving. We're going to host an event on Thanksgiving because every Thanksgiving, our city, Cleveland, does what's called a turkey trot. It's a 5 and 10K race. Probably 10,000 people go to this race. And he's like, we're going to go to the race. We're just going to get people there, gather them up, and come support you for finishing chemotherapy. We don't know how many people will show up, but it'll just be a cool event. Maybe, 50 people or something like that. And, we're going to call it Mustaches for Matt. And, so we get there, we're like, okay, there might be 50 people. We end up having over 400 people show up to the event. I probably didn't even know 200 of those people. We all, all the guys had their mustaches. All the girls, we gave them fake mustaches. And we had T-shirts to give out too called Mustaches for Matt. And it was just such an incredible day because it showed that no matter what you're going through, you have so much more support in your life than you could ever imagine. And it was really cool because the race, we all had the same T-shirt on. The race actually recognized us, which, was really cool. And they're like, are you doing this next year? They had a ton of pictures of us doing the race. I didn't obviously get to do the race because I was too weak, but it was just such a cool event. So we've been doing that event for 3 straight years. And 2020 hit, and I decided, I want to do my own Mustaches for Matt race. I want to, do something where it's just I host the race and we can bring all proceeds to charity. And of course, COVID hit. So it happened. I wanted to do the race in April and COVID hits in March and I haven't been able to do it yet. So I've been really trying to focus on that. But that's how Mustaches for Matt came to be is, through my chemotherapy, we've been doing races every single year. There's hundreds of people that would show up and it's just so incredible to see the support, the love, and the energy that people bring. And this, hopefully this year or most likely probably next year at this point, I will be hosting my first actual event where I do my own 5K and all of my proceeds are whether I start a nonprofit or I'm giving it to a nonprofit. So that's why it started, and that's also why my business is named Mustaches for Matt right now. It might change because if I decide to do a nonprofit, that will be my nonprofit, and I'll have a different business name. But for right now, it's just so meaningful to me that I needed to have it in some part of my life.
It's a good identifier, and people kind of connect with it. It's got a catchy name. It's the M&M, Mustaches and Matt.
Yeah.
The branding works, but it's cool. I feel like a lot of most great ideas come from something simple, from like a quirky idea. Like friends noticed the mustache and they thought like, we'll just do this to support them, and thought it would be like a little push for you just to make you smile. And then it turns into something that's a larger charitable cause, and then a full race that they took notice. People were head turning, like, what are these guys doing over here with this mustaches deal? And then mustaches even have like they're just a popular thing anyways. Like it gets recognition. So
a lot of awareness with mustaches, you have November, and you have, just other things where people grow mustaches for awareness. So
so it catches attention, like, oh, what's this one? And what are they doing? And then they find out about your battle and your current story and how you're using it as a superpower currently. And I love it. The pandemic could basically slow us all down, but it's not going to slow you down big picture. I mean, you probably spent more time planning for this now, so you're going to be a little bit more planned than you would have been. And so I'm excited to see where that comes from. Is there somewhere we can tune in? Like if someone listening right now wanted to donate or give $5 to a charity that you want to point out right now,
the one charity that we are going to go to is Almond Cancer Fund. So it's a young adult cancer organization, or you could say Almond Foundation. They
Almond, like ALMOND.
ULMAN.
Almond, gotcha. ULMAN.
Yep, cool. Almond Foundation, and their whole premise is on young adults, and I think it's so meaningful to me because with cancer, young adults are probably the least talked about because you, once again, have this persona of, we're invincible, or we're these healthy people that don't usually get sick at 20. You have the kids, because if a really young kid gets diagnosed, it's devastating. And then you have the older generation, because that's where most people think cancer comes from. But you kind of forget the 18 to 36-year-olds who they get cancer too. And it's a lot of individuals. So it was kind of meaningful to me when I saw just a pure young adult cancer organization. So if you want to check out Almond Foundation, go check them out. There's so many great ones out there, but that's what we were going to donate to start with.
No, that's extremely well said. You articulate really well, which is why what you're doing transfers so well to the stage and your videos and podcast interviews. And I am so grateful to just have the opportunity to talk to you today. I mean, whether we were recording or not, I was going to walk away with a ton of value meeting you today. And now I feel even better, because the reason I do the show is to capture these moments that people can listen to at any time. 2 years from now, people are still going to be inspired by your story. It's awesome. So again, I just want to remind you, whether it's one person right now, this interview feels so good knowing that your mission and your encouragement's getting out into the world, man. We're inspired just by watching your story unravel. Awesome. Yeah. So take this opportunity. We're going to take it a little next step further and be more intentional about it. So speak to our audience directly. Those that are going through major adversity right now. It may be cancer, it could be health related, or it could be an issue at work, maybe on the home front even. Okay. So they feel that they're down and out. That moment that you've been through, I've been through it in different ways. Lights are blinking, they're barely staying on, like that feeling you can picture, almost like a zombie movie where everything is just like there's just one last breath if we have it. And their hope is at an all-time low. They're about to give up. What would you like to tell them right now?
Well, I'm going to first share a story because I had a lot of rock bottom moments, and I'll share one of my rock bottom moments. So hopefully I can give you some perspective, and then I'll help you how I got out of it, and I'll give you some advice along the way. So, as we talked about, I was in the ICU for 53 days, and I was in the ICU for over 40 days. I was in the hospital for 53 straight days, and I ended up having 5 surgeries in a matter of 30 days. And the last surgery I had was, an open wound surgery. And what had happened was they couldn't close my skin back up. So they had to keep a massive football-sized mesh over my stomach. And when I woke up from that surgery, my hands and my feet were tied to the bed. I had a breathing tube in my mouth, and for 2 straight days, I was awake, but no nurses or doctors knew it because I couldn't say anything. I couldn't move or anything. And I felt like I was in just such a rock bottom moment at that point because I had gone through a coma. I had already had kidney and liver failure. I went through cardiac arrest. I had 4 surgeries. I had to learn to walk again, and I'm still learning to walk again. I'm 110 pounds at this point. So I'm in rock bottom.
Are they talking to you, man? Are they telling you, hey, just so you know, this is what's going on, hang with us for a couple of days? Or are you just like clueless of what's actually going on?
Well, no, I know at this point what's kind of good for myself. At that point I knew what was going on. When I came out of my coma, I had no idea what was going on. So they just, I don't think, knew that I was awake at the time because I mean, the only thing I could do is open my eyes, and they probably knew I was like somewhat awake, but they didn't know that I was stable enough to get the breathing tube out, undo the my hands and stuff like that. So, I mean, it was really challenging for about a day or two where I basically had to sit there and pray. And I was like, hey, listen, I can either just give up now because, I'm in the lowest point of my life where I've gone through all this stuff, or the only place I can go, because if you're in a rock bottom situation, the only place you can go is up. And a lot of the times in our rock bottom situations, we think we have to do so much to get out of that situation when really all it takes is one simple task that you have to do each day. That's it. One thing. So all I did was when they finally, took off the ropes, took my breathing tube out, I got up and literally walked further than I ever did previous to any of those surgeries. But I decided to myself, I said, listen, I'm only going to focus on one thing each day. That's it. One simple thing. And that's on anybody's journey in life. Anybody trying to figure out what they're trying to do. It's a compound effect. When you start doing one thing, when you keep the promises you make to yourself saying, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z today, and I don't back out, I don't make an excuse, I don't blame other people, I just focus on what I need to get done, and I go out and I do it, guess what it does? It creates momentum. Yeah. When you have a week's full of doing one thing every day, it creates momentum. And guess what happens when you create momentum? After a couple of weeks, you create routines, you create rituals, you create things that are in your life that are allowing you to push forward without having to make it a burden. And guess what that do? That ultimately creates confidence within yourself. And when you have confidence within yourself, you truly believe that whatever that situation is or whatever situation comes your way, you can overcome it. It may not happen overnight, but you have to continuously do one small thing each day. This is what I would tell all my health clients or my patients when I was, a personal trainer was saying, hey, listen, you don't have to go on this crazy diet right now. You don't have to work out 7 days a week. You don't have to go do exercise. How about we just start off today and focus on one thing? Maybe it's just getting that workout in for 20 minutes, getting on a treadmill and walking, because you're going to feel pretty good about yourself when you just do something small each day. Yeah. And how I look at life here is everything in life happens for you, not to you. Here's what I mean by that. You probably heard this before.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's tricky situations. Some people disagree, but I completely, fully agree. Yes, you have unfair situations. I don't undermine that. I had cancer. I had many multiple near deaths. I wish I never had that. That's so unfair. But guess what? You can take the exact same situation and say, why is this happening to me? Meaning excuses, blame God, blame the universe, blame your partner, blame whatever you want, or say the exact same thing to have the exact same scenario and say, how is this happening for me? You grow from it. You use it as a lesson. And then you want to know the most important part? What creates happiness, what creates a purpose, like we just said, you take all of that, adversity and you turn it into a lesson, you grow from it, and then you help other people. And that is what it is. When you're in a rock bottom situation, stop looking at it as a bad thing. It could actually be the best thing that's ever happened because it could be a reset for your life, and it can allow you to actually find your real purpose. Sometimes we need that reset. So, a lot of the times I would say most of our mental health comes from either dwelling on the past, which is depression, or we're constantly worrying what could possibly happen in the future. But here, I'm going to flip the script here. Instead of dwelling on the past, how about you start learning from the past? Instead of instead of worrying about what the future might hold, start planning for the future and be present. Be present 99% of the time. And all you need to do is use your past as a lesson and your future as a plan to push yourself forward. And that is what will allow you every single day just doing one small thing. Like that famous saying, Rome wasn't built in a day. It's so true. Practice makes perfect. I mean, it's all these things that we hear, but I'm just trying to say in a different way so that you can understand it. just stay focused, stay consistent, and you'll be just fine. You will get out of that situation. It's not the end of your life. And a lot of the times we create these false stories that aren't even true. And when we can get those out of our head and just stay focused where we need to go, we'll get out of that situation.
Matt is spitting fire over here. This is like a master class. Normally I try to edit these down to like a 2-minute promo to let everybody know like where they should, like, you know, a little cliffhanger, some excitement, and boom, I want to hear the rest of Matt's story. How am I going to do that with this? I mean, he just went on and just crushed in a really tough question. I wasn't trying to give you a curveball, but it was like, people are down and out, lights are barely on. They might feel like they have one last breath. What would you tell them? And I got some bullet points out of it. I just want to make sure we hit on them again. Is he started with a story, and anyone who's listening, please remember that storytelling is so powerful. Instead of just telling somebody to do something, try to inspire them to do it, not motivate them, because that's just a guy in a gym yelling at you like, one more rep. But like, if you inspire them through a story, they're going to want to do one more rep. So he was like, he has this moment to connect with people on their last opportunity, their last will to do anything. And he says, let me tell you a quick story. Look, for 2 days, I had my eyes open. I was there. I knew what was going on, and I couldn't do a damn thing about it. And then, so now you got our attention. And then you said to do one thing. And I have not read this book yet, which is killing me. Did you read this yet?
I've not, no.
I think it's that same idea. It's Gary Keller. I don't get any promo or anything for this, but one thing it's like on my to-do list. But you know, I agree with you on that, where if you try to do 457 things every single day, it's going to be really sloppy of what you can get done. But if you just say, like, every day I'm going to read one chapter of a book. Every day I'm going to start with gratitude, like pick your thing, and then just do that, compounding it. Eventually that thing becomes like a really, really strong something is part of you. It's part of your identity. And then on top of it is building confidence. And something I learned, I'm guessing, have you listened to Ed Milet before? I always give him kudos.
He's the reason I am where I'm at today.
Same here. So you and I are students and products of Ed Milet. So I hope somehow we can get this in front of him, and so he can reflect and go like, wow, there's a couple guys out there that are doing some really cool stuff. Not because of him, but through his encouragement and inspiration. He says the same thing. Everything happens for you and not to you. And that's where I learned it. You just hit on it and why that is so true. And look, guys, those compounding things you do, the one thing you do every day, builds some self-confidence, right? So then what you can do with that is, like, you tell yourself you're going to do it. I'm just going to write one thing in my gratitude journal every day, and then you do it. Sounds super simple, sounds super small, but all of a sudden it builds this confidence, like, I'm doing what I said I was going to do. And your brain starts to feel like, I can do the next thing. I say I want to run a mile a day. I can do it because I know I told myself I was going to do this other thing. And we don't stop and think about life that way, but that's how it really feels. And I appreciate you hitting on that. Then the last thing is, not only is it compounding every day, but you can literally look at the same thing. This happened to Matt. He gets testicular cancer, 24 years old, rock bottom. He can go a couple different ways. He can go, woe is me, the rest of his life, and people will justify and understand why he's down and out. No one's going to get on his back about it. Dude, he's got a really rough time. We're going to give him some space. Or the Matt that we see here sitting in front of me today, virtually, saying, brother, like, I had to deal with that either way. But now what can I do with it? How can I help other people through my story? I didn't have this story before to help people. If I went on a stage before and talked about compounding, confidence and all kinds of stuff, people go, who the hell are you? Well, why am I going to listen to you? You're some young punk kid that's like in the gym. We don't need you. But your story is allowing you to help more people. Now, did Matt wake up and say, I really would love to have cancer? No. But it happened, and now he's saying, okay, well, this could be part of my story. So I apologize if I just reiterated everything you just said, but I want you to know that it really, like, hit home with me the way you articulated it. And I wanted to make sure we don't just keep moving on through questions, because that's not why I had you on the show. I'm having you on the show to inspire people and also to get back for yourself. Because when we do these shows, I've been guests myself on other shows. A lot of times I'm reminded of, like, some of the cool things I'm doing. We forget about them. So hopefully you're reflecting right now and realizing these cool opportunities that have come from this. I don't want to
Yeah,
miss
I mean,
this one right here.
I think that's very, very important to hit. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, I didn't want to run through it. Your setback can become a superpower. I believe that's right on your website. I've talked about that numerous times with multiple guests. And you're in the seat right now, shining, that your setback can become your superpower. Give us your perspective on that.
Yeah. What I really feel like is your setbacks are really a setup for something great in your life. You know, as we talked about previously, any adversity you go through
Mm-hmm.
is really what gives you your powers. It's what gives you the growth opportunity. For me, if I had not gone through cancer, if I had not gone through challenging moments, I wouldn't be mentally prepared. I wouldn't be emotionally prepared, and I wouldn't be necessarily physically prepared
Right.
to be doing the things I'm doing right now. I knew in my life, I always had this feeling in my life, and I think a lot of us can attest to that. We want something massive in our life, especially in our 20s. We're like, we dream huge, we dream big. And then as life goes on, I would say most people, they unfortunately let other people, or they let society, or they let money dictate their dreams. And for me, I was that person until this massive thing happened in my life. And once again, you don't need to go through cancer to have this change in your life. Maybe it's a financial situation. Maybe it's a relationship. Maybe it's something that just like switches in your head. That's like, I'm done with all the bullshit of listening to what other people have to tell me all the time. And I'm constantly dragged down by negative, hey, I need to change my friends group, or I need to do X, Y, and Z. And, that right there is what allowing your setbacks of whatever you're going through to transform them into your superpowers, so that you can ultimately be the best version of you and make the impact you want in this world. So that's kind of my short version of it.
Yeah, there's so many good stories and guests I've had on that were similar to that, where it's like the initial adversity became something that they had to deal with and overcome themselves. And then in learning on how to do that for themselves, they were able to then teach and educate and inspire people through that moment. And if they weren't, it's very similar to the last topic we were just talking about, like it happened for you, not to you, where because it happened for you, you're able to educate and help people on it. So it's all connected, like as part of your story. It's really how you, once it comes at you, it's like how you shape it into a ball and like it's a piece of clay, and how it comes back. And that can either come out darkened and hardened and with little influence and inspiration, or you can say like, okay, man, all those crazy moments, I know I can help other people get through them. And then those that haven't had that massive amount of adversity can hear your story, and it can help them get through their thing at work or with their family. And like, not everybody needs to be on that hospital bed for 2 days with their eyes open and feeling helpless. Like, you're actually saying, I hope nobody else ever has to experience that. You're saying, hey, it didn't sign up for it, but since I had to deal with it, let me help you out.
I would say this here. I would say, I hope nobody goes through what I went through, but I hope you do have a rock bottom moment in your life. This sounds terrible, but it's not. I hope you fall flat on your face so you can truly understand that it's not as bad as you thought it would be most of the time. Almost all the time. It's like we constantly think rock bottom just means death, or it means that there's no means to life. And that's why I want you to fall flat on your face, to understand that you can pick yourself back up. You can keep pushing forward, and you can still do something great with your life. And most of the time, that is when you do something great with your life. So for any of you out there who's afraid to fail, who's afraid to, get the answer no by somebody, or is afraid of what somebody might say about you, you need to get
right.
It's 2 acronyms. You can either fear everything and run, or you can face everything and rise. And that's your choice. You're going to run from your fears, or you're going to rise from them. And that's exactly how I live my life now is listen, when there's a challenging moment that comes my way, I get butterflies. I question myself. We all do that. That's part of it. But are you going to let that define you, or are you going to be victorious and push yourself forward and say, listen, that's okay. I'm going to fail. I'm going to fall down, but I'm going to pick myself back up. It's how many times you pick yourself back up. I forget the Rocky quote exactly, but it's more or less like, It's not about how you get knocked down. It's how you pick yourself back up in a sense. And that's exactly how life should be. So
yeah, I agree with you. Like, a lot of people do understand it's a crazy thing, and we're not saying like we want you to go through the tough times and bring other people down with you. But I agree. I've actually signed up to be an entrepreneur and just made that decision and walked away from a
you're gonna fall on your face.
safe, cushy job. And I did. And back in 2017, I very much did fall on my face. But the things I've learned since that moment today, and I still don't have it all figured out, and I hope I never do, because that means I'm not challenging myself. But as I continue to compound wins, little victories, and do these little things and compound over and over and over, the people I met, the people I got to speak to, the people I got to speak in front of, similar opportunities to you. I've done a couple of virtual events like that. And the people who I hang out with and connect with on Zoom and do podcast interviews with are people I would have absolutely never met before, because I would have just kept going, it's okay, I'm coasting and things are good and everyone kind of likes what I'm doing and it's safe and I have some money. But it would have absolutely been not the best version of Mike. And I'm looking to achieve, I say be great and be grateful at the end of all my interviews, at the end of all my emails. And what I mean by that is, look at Matt. Look, he's being great in what he does. When he works out, he's going to do it at a high level. When he gets in front of a crowd, he's going to do it. He just delivered one of the best interviews I've ever was a part of, both as a host and as a consumer. He just delivered that. So like, what can you guys do today at a high level and be great? Once you get to do that, pause and then be grateful for that opportunity, because not everybody can get to do what you do. I had an awesome interview with Patricia Love. She has a great book out. She's an inspirational coach as well. And she said, think of life and what you have in front of you today. You get to do it, not you have to do it. Like, you have to write an email now. No. I get to write an email because I have the internet. That's a privilege. It's an honor. I have a computer. I have people who want to receive my email. I get to do it. I get to do this interview today. How much time do you have left? Because I actually intentionally didn't schedule something because I had a feeling.
I got about 5-10 minutes if you need.
Awesome. Because I got like 2 big questions circled on my sheet, and I wanted to really make sure we get these.
Let's dive in.
You are 29. We just got a little bit of this answer now, but you said your influence came from Ed Milet. Same here. Total love and appreciation for him. Yep. What about other influence, like whether it's family, books you read, podcasts you listen to? Because at 29, I feel like you already have a life of influence instilled in you. And let's give some love and appreciation to the people who helped you get to where you're at.
Number one, my girlfriend. So she
smart man.
only dating me, Lauren. She was only dating me for 2 months before I was diagnosed. So like, I always say this, like, it's a big burden to put on somebody when you're diagnosed with cancer. And she did not falter one bit. She was that person who would push me past boundaries that I didn't know existed. Like saying, like, days that I felt like I couldn't get up and walk, or days that I mentally wasn't prepared for things. And she just said, listen, Matt, like, I know you can push through this. And I would doubt myself so much. And she would just constantly keep telling me that I can keep going further. She did some, she is, how I would say this, like, she would push me to a point where it wasn't like I would get pissed at her, or like that I would be like, there's no, like, she wouldn't try to hurt me or anything. She would literally just push me to places that she knew that I could get to, that I just mentally myself needed that support system to get to. So hers, number one, she was there every 53 days in that hospital. A really cool story. We met on March 17th of 2016. After all of the complications, after being in the hospital for 53 days, when I was released from that hospital after 53 days, it was March 17th of 2017. For me, it wasn't a coincidence. I truly, truly believe that God put her in my life for a reason. So that would be my one thing, is to ask somebody right now, is who is that one person in your life, or maybe a couple people, that if you're going through a tough time in life, they're going to be there for you. And a lot of times we take that person for granted. And I did too. I still do sometimes. And it's good to take a step back and appreciate those people in your life and just tell them, how much you really care and how much they've been an impact in your life. Because not only is it going to make your day, but it's going to make their day 10 times better as well. So that was her. My parents were absolutely incredible too. Oh, you're good. My parents were absolutely incredible. My mom was very faith-based. My dad was very, he knew like so much. He was very knowledgeable about it, because I didn't like retaining all that information because it just stressed me out. Like, I didn't want to know everything. So he was like that person at the end of it, literally like doctors would walk in and be like, are you a doctor? Because he knew so much. And he's like, no, I just know all this information because that's my life right now. So, big shout out to them. And then my friends too, my friends and family. I talk sometimes, I talk a lot on my podcasts about like losing friends, and it's usually only like a 5% of them or 10% that I really lose along my journey, especially as an entrepreneur. You realize that you lose some people along the way. But for the most part, for that 90%, I wouldn't be here today without them either. I had so many incredible people in my life that would just show up, talk to me, keep me engaged, keep me in a positive flow. That's so important. Keeping yourself in a positive momentum, a positive flow. And you're going to have a lot of ups and downs, but when you have those people there to get you out of those down moments quicker than, you just trying to do it yourself, makes a massive, massive difference in your life. So I would give a big shout out to friends, family, all of them. And then, on my entrepreneurial journey, all my entrepreneurial friends I just made, I joined masterminds and things like that. I've made it a ton of incredible friends along the way. And, as for like big mentors, you have Ed Milet. You probably know who Andy Frisella is. I'm assuming if you know who Ed Milet is. So I joined their mastermind group when they first came out. It's called Arte Syndicate and Arte Accelerator. Obviously, I wasn't like advanced enough. They have a really advanced one, which is the Syndicate, and then they have the Accelerator. So I was in the Accelerator for a while, got mentored by both of them where they do live calls, incredible people. There's just a bunch of people that I look up to when it comes to my journey now. And I just can't thank a lot of people enough. I have a person named Yaya who was my personal coach for a while. He's an incredible guy too. And there's just so many people out there. So
yeah, masterminds are so important. I need to get myself in a new one. I used to facilitate them myself. I actually had an opportunity to speak at an Arte event, which was cool. It was a smaller, it was in New Jersey. It was March of last year. It was right before like the pandemic kind of started, and I had my plane ticket booked and I went to this cool event. And I was talking about personal branding. And it was when I don't think we had to wear masks. That wasn't mandatory or anything. But I was in an airport where some people were in masks. Some people were like in full body suits, looked like they were like in Halloween costumes, like in garbage bags. And it was a moment when I said, this is super real. What's about to go down, like the fear factor thing is super real. And the idea that something's about to hit. And then it did. Like when I got back to Buffalo, everything was like shutting down. So I was super grateful I got to meet those people. And a lot of them are friends that I connect with still today. Love Arte, love Andy and Ed. And you paid respects to Lauren. Like, how incredible is that? That's kind of a unicorn situation. You don't let someone like that ever go. I've had people come and go in my life that I thought would be there no matter what. Same. And they're not today. And, hey, I hope they find happiness, whatever. But it kind of makes you wonder, like, what if I would have gotten sick? How quickly would have they turned their back then too? So when you have a rock like that, that's a lifer, it's incredible. The other thing we didn't even talk about in this incredible conversation so far is that everyone could be striving for something: success, notoriety, respect, all these big key things, right? Money. But at the end of the day, if you don't have your health, man, it's like, what does it mean? And then not only is it your health, it's that person or people next to you that matter most. If they were all taken away, nobody would, with the right heart and right mind, say, I would take $1 billion over losing my mother, my sister, my brother, my spouse, my lover, like the person that is my unicorn that's not going anywhere. You're Lauren. You would never trade $1 billion for Lauren. It's a joke.
It's that thing. Money can't bring happiness. I think money's a tool. Money is 100%. Get as much money as you possibly can for the right reason.
1,000%. I'm not even saying that. I think people should be. It's access, but at the same time, if you had to choose to have it all, that's not really the top line item. Because you
100%.
All of that.
I couldn't agree more. I think
you could be 90 years old and reflecting. Yeah, absolutely.
Without your health, without the people that you care about in your life, there is no meaning to your life, really. Your health If you don't have any health, you can't go and do the things you want to do with your life. If you don't have the people that you care about and love about, there's no meaning attached to it. Why do most people want to make money? They want to make money. Now, there are some selfish ass people out there, but most of the time, most people aren't that selfish. They want to do it so they can pay off their parents' home, or they could go do something incredible where they can bring their friends along and their family, and or they want to do something for their kids. It's all something to do with other people that you care about. And if you can't take care of your health, just like you said, you aren't going to be able to do those things. You can have all the money in the world, but it's so funny. You have let's say you have $1 million in your bank account, but then next thing you know, you have COVID, or you get diagnosed with cancer. What are you going to think about? Are you going to think about the $1 million in your account? Or are you going to think about COVID or cancer that you just got? And most likely you're going to be thinking about cancer. And
well, what's exciting about that, Matt, and I have one more question. If you got to run, you got to run. But
you're good. One more is good.
Yeah, is just so the thing is like that should be encouraging to everybody, because like not everybody wakes up and has that big bank account right now, but everybody can start working on the things and being grateful for what you do have, and that right there is going to empower you. So then when you do come into a financial situation, and I do believe in when you focus on something, your chances of getting it are so much more. It's that law of attraction. So if that is something that you identify as a want and desire, so you can take care of more people and inspire more people. Again, money is access. So I feel if you really want to do something big, it's part of the equation. But realize that like building up all those little things that are super important first, and then that added to it is going to just make it even bigger and more amazing. Where if you just like end up going that road first and you don't have all the real important things built up, then you can really run into that situation where you lose it and you're like, what do I really have?
If you're chasing money, real quick, if you're chasing money, you're never going to get it. But if you're chasing a meaning attached to it, a purpose, like this whole discussion's been, if you're chasing an actual purpose and an actual meaning behind what you want to do, the money will come into play. It will.
So if we can summarize everything we said, we already talked about people with that like last opportunity, like, man, do not give up right now. Like you're on the rock bottom ground level. So that is actually an inspiring thing, because now you can choose the pieces you add to it. So that you already told that story. But if you can deliver something that maybe we didn't hit on yet, and you have an opportunity right now to talk to anyone who's listening at any stage of their life, what would that message be?
Yeah. Man, that's a good question. I would still just go along the lines of dream so big that it scares the living shit out of you. I mean it. Like, don't ever let your dream, don't ever let your purpose, your heart, what you have in your heart, ever be controlled by somebody else. You have to go with what you have in your heart and just stay focused, stay on the path. As long as it's ethical, as long as it's something that you know is going to make an impact, keep pushing forward. And when you do that, it will take some time. It could take years, but guess what? It's kind of like there's this like, I don't know if it's a meme or just this picture where I see this guy has this shovel and he's shoveling this dirt, and then all of a sudden there's this big gold mine right there, but like there's this little bit where he just decides to turn around, and then you see this other person who's way back there, and he's just still grinding. He's never going to give up. Because guess what? That person wanted instant gratification. And guess what they got? They got nothing out of it. They may have gotten little highs, but the other person says, I'm in it for the macro. I don't care about the instant gratification. I don't care about the quick buck. I care about the impact I'm going to make, and that's going to ultimately lead to where I need to be in my life. And my dream is never, Ed Milet says this, my dream is never going to be bought. I'm not going to let my dreams be bought in life. And that basically means is no amount of setbacks, no amount of adversity, no amount of failure, no amount of even money is going to take me away from my purpose in my life. So don't ever let that happen to you. Dream big, keep going. And all those people who may criticize you or just doubt you at the time, they're going to be your biggest fans when you start to, get that success in your life.
Yeah, man. Oh, there's so many good things. This is going to be so much fun to chop together and put a great promo together. I think this is going to be one of those episodes where people are like, they're just going to star it if they can't listen to it later, like favorite it, so then they can go back. And when they're driving like a longer distance ride, they can listen to the whole thing. Absolutely incredible. You're amazing. I'm happy to call you a friend. We're going to stay connected because you and I are definitely hanging out on the same frequency, which is amazing. I always like to end everything with be great and be grateful. I'm super grateful for you, my friend. And again, people check him out on Instagram at Matty_ODE. It's MattODEspeaks.com, and it's pronounced Odie, right? Matt Odie. He's doing incredible things. He is stronger than cancer. It's written on his shirt as we speak right here. Enjoy the rest of your day, my friend. Love what you're doing. And anytime you want to connect and collaborate, I'm here for you.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
Hey guys, this is Mike, and I wanted to personally thank you for tuning in, for being part of my journey. Together we can make a positive impact in the world. A shout out to everyone who's been tuning in. I love reading your feedback and appreciate the reviews on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and the messages that have been coming in on social media as well. I love you guys. Thank you so much for making this journey as much fun as it's been so far. I'm doing what I love, and it's awesome to hear that it's showing up in the podcast. If you haven't left a review yet, it's greatly appreciated if you do. And of course, if you share any content on social as well, I see it all and I appreciate you helping me spread the love. You can check out more show notes and information at mikeduppodcast.com, MIKED uppodcast.com, powered by Social Chameleon. You know what to do. Be great and be grateful.